What's going on, y'all? Thanks for checking in Khaliis Take. As always, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, also hit the notification bell just so you can get the newest and the bonus content first. But hey, let's just go ahead and jump right in. The Clippers end their road trip tonight against the Indiana Pacers. For the most part, their road trip has been fairly decent. You know, they lost some games I thought they could win. One I really would have liked to see the Clippers get was the game against Miami. I thought that was a game they might have been able to steal, possibly. But they did win some other games. They won some other games against the Magic, the 76ers. They beat the Hornets last night. So they did have some impressive wins on this road trip that they had to go on. Definitely the one they lost there to the Knicks. I thought that was a questionable one that they should have won. Definitely would have liked to seen them get that victory. But of course they didn't. But it's okay. For the most part, they did fairly well on their road trip. Because going back after tonight's game against the Indiana Pacers, which, hopefully they can cap off their road win and go out with a bang and get a big victory there. They follow up with a home game, I believe, against the Lakers. Now, of course, that's always going to be a tough matchup. You're definitely going to get their best just because that's a hometown rivalry. But when you look at it from there, they're going to have to face, the Memphis Grizzlies after that? No, excuse me, they got the Bucks and then the Grizzlies after that. So, this is going to be, they're going to be home for a couple of games, but it's going to be a tough schedule these next few games after, tonight's game against the Indiana Pacers. So really, like I said, you got some tough games coming up. You need to pull out tonight's game against the Pacers, which I think the Clippers can definitely do that. If they could beat the Hornets by 25 points, I think they could beat the Pacers, in a close game by like 5 or 6 points and pull out the victory. And they're going to have to just keep building off of that, because at this point now, you have to understand that every game counts, every game is detrimental, and every game is riding on your season. And right now, the Clippers are in the 7th seed. They're in a really good spot based upon where they were maybe a week or two ago. Honestly, they were more in the danger zone more than what people even thought, because being in the 9th seed is really, really a bad situation, because if you get a couple of games or if you lose a couple games in the midst of that back to back, now you can find yourself in the 10th seed, which is an uphill battle, as I said before. And we don't know whether the Clippers are going to make any trades. We don't know if they can make any trades or have the assets to do so. So I don't know if their roster is going to be upgraded anytime soon. But when you look at their roster from what they're getting in regards to contribution out of certain players, for one, Luke Kennard has been definitely a revelation for them. And then on top of that, you can add the G League guy they got, Amir Coffey. He comes from the G League and he's a success for the Clippers. It's really no doubt about it. He's come in and provided big games on both ends of the floor, actually, because he plays pretty good defense. And, he's made some good offensive plays. He can knock down threes. He's a knockdown shooter. And that's exactly what you want out of your players. That's exactly what you want to see out of your role players if you're a coach. And Ty Lue definitely deserves a lot of credit for what he's done with this team and how they have played. It has been phenomenal to watch them. It really has, as far as phenomenal. And when I say phenomenal, I mean in regards to what they have on the floor and what they're going up against every night, and every other team who has all their players, who have their juggernauts or whoever's on their team. And the Clippers find themselves staying afloat. They've beaten the Lakers already this season. They've beaten the Nets. They've beaten Jokic and the Nuggets. They've beaten the 76ers with Joel Embiid, who might be the MVP of the league, or who might have taken the lead in the MVP race so far. So, they've won some big games, so you got to give them a lot of credit for what they've been able to do under the circumstances that they're in. It's just very, very, reasonable to think this is a very good team. This is a really good team. And anybody out there that says this team is no good really is just a hater, because what they've been working with is G League players to role players that have been helping them stay afloat with older, crafty or older core players that's been in the league a long time, where they're getting close to out of their prime. And the Clippers still have been able to find ways to stay afloat. And you got to give them credit for that. So, I mean, shout out to Clippers Nation, for staying behind the team and rallying behind them and keeping the faith and keeping the hope, because honestly, some of the wins that the Clippers have had this year alone, definitely hope needs to still stay alive, because they definitely have found a way to alter some decisions in regards to how they play, because they would lose some games that'll make you scratch your head. I know, because I scratch my head looking at them at times, but they've won some games that also made you scratch your head in a good way, because it's like, how in the hell did they do that? How did they win that game? How did they win a game being down 35 points, even though it's to the Wizards? Nobody has won a game this year down 20-something, 25, 30 points probably. Well, not many teams have. But they found a win a game by 35 being down, a 35-point deficit. I mean, that's unreal. That's unbelievable. That's historic. And this is what I'm saying. To do historic things like that with a bunch of role players and some G League players, that shows how good Ty Lue's coaching is. That shows how much the players want to understand the process. And that shows how much the players want to really win. And it just shows that. And honestly, I feel like, Kawhi and PG should definitely push and work their ass off to come back as quick as they can, because this team has a fighter's mentality, and this team is trying everything they can, doing everything they can to stay afloat with these other teams, even though they know they don't have the talent on their team to beat some of these teams. But with their mentality and the way they play and listening to Ty Lue, they're winning games. And most people don't even know how they're doing it. And I'm not saying they're the best team in the league or anything like that. But what I'm saying is, if they're healthy, they're definitely one of the best teams in the league. And I'm telling you, if they found a way to get back Kawhi and PG, I definitely think the West would be a whole different animal then. Because then you would have to look at them and say, well, you know what? Who in the West could really knock them off in a 7-game series? I mean, really, the Warriors look good at times, but Klay Thompson is not where he once was. Stephen Curry has a lot of struggling moments where he shoots lights out sometimes, but sometimes he shoots everybody out the damn gym in regards to having people leave the damn stadium earlier because he's shooting piss poor. So it's like he's not all the way consistent with the jumper the way he should be, because he's been going through slumps for like the last month or so. I mean, and honestly, the game they won the other night against the Nets with Kyrie Irving by himself, how did they come back down from 16 plus points and almost win that game if you got the Splash Brothers on the floor? Now, we're not going to say nothing too much about Klay, because, he's coming off an injury, but shouldn't Steph be in rhythm even more with Klay Thompson on the floor? Klay Thompson takes pressure off of Stephen Curry, and Stephen Curry still struggled that game, even though he did hit some shots down the stretch. But this is what I'm saying. The Warriors are not as good as a lot of people think unless they have Draymond Green at 100%. Draymond Green is really the engine that keeps that team going. And like I said, Draymond has back injuries now. Who knows what Draymond's going to look like coming back? He might not ever be the same player he used to be, because we saw when Dwight Howard started getting back injuries, he went from a superstar to a role player. Well, Draymond Green is not a superstar. He's already a role player. So if he's having back problems and surgeries or something like that, now the team might look completely different. And this is my point. They're not scaring nobody. Even though they're good, they're not scaring nobody. The Suns are not scaring nobody. The Lakers are not scaring nobody. Nobody in the West scares anybody. And they definitely don't scare a Clippers team who definitely feels like they can contend with anybody in the West if they're healthy. But right now they're not healthy, so you can't speak on that but so much. But at the same time, with what they have, they're doing damn good if you ask me. I mean, I couldn't see them being in the 7th seed right now with the roster that they have on paper. I couldn't see it. I mean, right now, like I said, if they win tonight's game and the way the Lakers lost last night against Atlanta, well, and let's say the Timberwolves go on a few game losing streak, the Clippers might find themselves in a 6th seed here soon without neither superstar. I mean, that's overly impressive to not have no superstar on the roster, and you're going against a bunch of teams out there who has superstars, all-stars, all these type players, and the Clippers are holding their own. So, I mean, very impressive for them. Definitely shout out to them, Clippers Nation, for that. tonight is going to have to be a big win. They're going to have to get this win because they got 3 huge matchups coming up back to back to back. And like I said, getting a win like tonight is definitely going to bode well for them because that keeps them in good standards and in good standings in regards to the NBA standings, because it gives them a leg up on the Lakers. So if they happen to lose the Lakers game, there'll still be a leg up on them or a game up on them, because if they win the night's game, it actually helps their cause in regards to that. But I definitely think they could beat the Lakers once again. So, I mean, because the Lakers are just a mess to me. And like I said, LeBron comes back, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I think he was there for the last game and they lost. So, I mean, it doesn't really make a difference. LeBron's just putting up empty calories, if you ask me. All the points and no winning doesn't mean nothing. So, I mean, it's still a big game, though, because it's an in-town rivalry. So, I mean, the Clippers need to get up for that. They need to get through this road trip and end it with a bang and keep building on top of their confidence and keep fighting. That's the only way they're going to make it. And that's the only way their season is going to be, salvaged by possibly getting to the playoffs. Right now, they're in the 7th seed. They're in a good spot. But you got to keep building on that. And I'm pretty sure Ty Lue is preaching that to the guys. I'm pretty sure, he is, definitely implementing that to them every day in practice. And these guys are listening. They're not letting it go in one ear and out the other. They're definitely listening to him. So I definitely appreciate the fact of how they're playing. And shout out to Amir Coffey. He's definitely been playing really good. I mean, to have a guy from the G League come on your roster and ball out the way he's been doing the last couple weeks, has been very good. And underratedly, one thing with Amir Coffey that I've noticed in watching him, he's a pretty decent playmaker at times too. And he definitely changes their offense somewhat with his playmaking ability and the fact that he's a, two-way player on both ends of the floor. It definitely kind of fits what the Clippers are trying to do because they want versatile players in every position. That's how Ty Lue basically coaches. He loves to have players that are versatile 1 through 5. Just because you play a point guard don't mean you can't play a high level if he puts you in a number 2 role or a shooting guard role. Or just because you're a power forward, it doesn't mean he can't put you in the 5 position and you excel like a player like Nicholas Batum, who's very priceless to me. So this is what I'm saying. Ty Lue likes those type of players, and Amir Coffey plays both ends of the floor. He doesn't mind playing defense, and really he's earning his paycheck. He really is. He's probably earning his paycheck more than anybody on that roster, because for him to be the last man on it and one of the top scorers for them right now, because they don't have that much scoring ability, from not having superstars, from what he's been doing has been, very, very impressive. So I got to give him his flowers for that. Shout out to him for playing, pretty big these last several games. I don't think against Charlotte, I think he had like 7 points, but I mean, still, for the most part, these last couple weeks, he's been really, really good for them and come up really big for them. Shout out to Brandon Boston. I think he had 19 points in like 22 minutes against the Charlotte Hornets last night. So, I mean, that was, an impressive, outing from him. I definitely saw a lot from Brandon Boston as soon as he got into the league. So definitely shout out to him. Definitely shout out to Luke Kennard. He's definitely been their best player to me, on the floor ever since he's returned from COVID and injuries. So, hey, man, like I said, keep it going, keep it moving, keep fighting, keep the next man up mentality, and keep being resilient and keep building on top of what you have. That's what's going to get the Clippers ahead. And like I said, tonight they play against the Indiana Pacers. So I expect them to beat them. I'm going to predict the score. I guess while we're talking about it, I'm going to say the Clippers 116, the Pacers 108. So definitely go out with a bang on a road trip. That's always good, getting that last victory on a road trip, because it definitely, those are confidence builders. When you're ending a road trip, when you feel like you've done pretty good on the road trip, you can look at some games that you could have won and done better. But when you end a road trip with a victory and go back home, it definitely gives you the confidence to go back home and try to win every single game and have that mentality like, we can do it. You see what I'm saying? So that's what the Clippers got to live by. And that's what they have to keep in their heart and their mind every time they step out on the floor. And I know Ty Lue is implementing that to them, which is the reason why I feel like they're going to find a way to stay in that 7th, 8th seed and make the playoffs and avoid the play-in tournament. But hey, that's my take on everything. Leave any comments in the comment section as always. And hey, Khaliis out.